Have you ever felt buried in busy work, second guessing what to hand off, or wondering why growth still feels so darn heavy? Then this podcast is for you. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, Get Done, where real conversations help you lead smarter, delegate better, and take more off your plate. Here's your host, me, Bonnie Schutz. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Delegate to Elevate, Get Done. I'm your host, Bonnie Schutz, and welcome back. Today's guest is Jen Coken. Hi, Jen. Executive coach, culture strategist, and the force behind the Executive Presence Accelerator. With 25 years of experience across politics, nonprofits, and corporate America, Jen helps senior women in male-dominated industries become unignorable, love that word, known as the velvet, not just hammer, but sledgehammer. Even better. She's here to talk about, right, even more about
Should I do sound effects in the background while you talk?
I definitely. She's here to talk about turning insight into action and building workplaces where powerful women don't shrink, they lead. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today and to have the conversation we're about to have.
Yes. Oh, love it. So I always like to start with, now I gave your little bio, but I'd love to learn where you came from before you got into this role, where you're at and where you're going with your business.
I love it. So I did spend 25 years as a political operative, running grassroots campaigns, starting political operative. I mean, like a grassroots organizer. Okay. So it was everything from that to starting nonprofits, leading nonprofits, had my own consulting company for a couple of years, teaching nonprofits how to think like businesses and market themselves, worked in the energy industry, worked in the solar industry. And 2016 was unceremoniously let go, downsized from my last job. And it so happened the next day, my first book came out, which is called When I Die, Take My Panties. About, which is now a screenplay that we're shopping around. So if anyone's listening and has big pockets or is a great director, let me know.
Love it.
The screenplay is very different than the book, but the book was about my mom's journey, having been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and how that impacted us. Nothing we had ever heard of. And I thought, Bonnie, at the time, like, okay, well, God must be trying to show me something, that my job is to be out there educating women on ovarian cancer, because women over 60 are the ones who mostly get it. My mom was diagnosed at 66, and that is kind of the average time of a woman to be diagnosed. And it's the hardest cancer. It's the most deadly cancer and the hardest cancer to diagnose because there's no test. There's no way to, figure it out. However, and I'll make sure I'm going to tell my story and then ask me like, well, what are the signs and symptoms? Or I could just say them now, actually.
Go right ahead, please. Yes.
Yeah. So, I felt like had I known what I know now back then, my mom might still be alive, because we began studying, we began learning about it. I found grassroots organizations that we could become a member of. We felt so on our own. We didn't know there were support groups. Weren't smart enough at the time, I guess, to Google ovarian cancer support groups, But the thing I learned was that if you think about the acronym BEAT, like you beat a drum, those three letters, bloating, these are the 4 symptoms that you have ovarian cancer. If you have all 4 at the same time, go to your gynecologist, not your PCP. Go directly to your gynecologist and say this specific phrase: prove to me I don't have it. Because the only way to prove it is by biopsying the tissue. So the symptoms are bloating, eating, meaning you don't have an appetite anymore, you feel full really fast. Abdominal pain could also be lower back pain, chronic lower back pain, and trouble urinating. You either feel like you have to go all the time and can't go, or you're going all the time. And if you think about where the uterus and the ovaries are, it's pressing, somebody's pregnant with a baby.
Area. Yeah.
Right. It's pressing against all those organs. So when my mom was diagnosed, it was stage 4. Now, she lived over 5 years. She was a statistical anomaly, stubborn AF. And I take after her in a lot of ways, in many, many ways. I look just like her, which I'm very proud of. Yeah. So I thought at the time, that was my role. And I'm Jewish too. And so it was also important to me because Jewish women are 10 times more likely to have it. Because how Ashkenazi Jews came about, it started with 4 founders, our forefathers and our foremothers, and everybody married each other, if you think about the lineage. So we mucked with the gene pool. And I thought, well, that's my role. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I spent probably like 6 months on the road with my book clubs, TV, radio, got it to like a bestseller status on Amazon, not like New York or anything.
Right.
But I'm telling you, I was exhausted. I couldn't do it anymore because I felt like I was living my mom's death over and over.
Yeah.
And while I had my career in politics and organizing and nonprofits and corporate, I was also a coach for a big international personal growth and development company for 15 years. So I was coaching 30 hours a week, training, coaching, really got a massive training out of it. But around 2000, like a year before my book came out, I decided to part ways because I was good. I was no longer interested. I was interested in things like embodied leadership and somatic practices and energy work and spirituality. And one of my coaches at the time, as had made no money with the book tour and everything, said to me, "You got to start making money." I'm like, "Yeah, my severance is about to run out, you know?" And so I went back to coaching. And I kind of flailed around for the first probably 3 years of me coaching, trying to figure out my sweet spot and my people until around 2019, 2020. And what I realized was I was working for a big tech firm at the time in 2019. I had a contract with them as their coach, one of the coaches. And I was having a heck of a time. When I wasn't there with them on site coaching, I was under the covers crying. It was the weirdest thing. I had never felt so discombobulated and off my center. And I did some deep work around it, worked with my coach around it, and realized it was what we now know as imposter syndrome. But imposter syndrome is not a weakness. It's a signal that the room's too small, you got to get bigger, or a signal that you're growing. And so I began working specifically with women on identifying those defining moments. And that kind of became my moniker until that expanded into me pretty much coaching women in traditionally male saturated industries who are trying to figure out their authentic leadership style, which they will never arrive at because they keep looking outside themselves instead of looking within. Until they stop believing the lies and stop contorting, they're not going to feel authentic. And so that's the work I do with women now in my leadership programs and with organizations, individually helping women be promotion ready, to own their space, to take up space, to own their place in the world without apology and without a hard edge. And I work with companies to build their bench of women leaders so they are succession ready and don't have to spend millions in external hires. So that's kind of how I got to be where I'm at today. And I love what I do because my mom was a woman in STEM. She worked for NASA. I was a woman in STEM. I worked in the energy industry and in politics. There ain't a lot of chicks.
Very male dominated.
Very male dominated. And I absolutely love what I do. So now I speak and I train and I lead my own programs and I lead programs for companies. And I go in and do training on different aspects of kind of HR adjacent, performance management, one-on-one, that kind of thing.
Fantastic. I can attest to hearing you speak through the organization we met through. So you did an amazing job then, left a mark on me for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
That's why I invited you to be a guest. You bet. So I love this whole imposter syndrome chat because it's definitely something I had to get over. So it was more about in my life, delegating my mind to people that knew what to talk about in that area. So I mean, it's such a thing. When I left my last job, I was 48 years old. And even at 48, I was like, who is going to listen to me, let alone really feel like they want to work with this?
Ageism is real.
Oh, gosh. I was 48. That's so young.
I know.
When I think about it now.
I have women I'm working with right now that are really dealing with that. They're really dealing with that. What do you put on your resume? How do you talk about stuff?
Right. So what does it do? Let's get into it then. What does it do to women, or I guess we'll just stick in the women lane. What does it do to women? Because I don't know that men feel the imposter syndrome quite as much. They do? Oh,
we talk about it more. We talk about our feelings more.
That's true.
Right. So it was interesting because when imposter phenomenon, it's not even a syndrome because it's not medical.
Yeah. We don't like syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it was named by two researchers in academia, and they looked at really successful women in academia and began to do this research and study and wondered why these women felt like a fraud. If you Google imposter syndrome plus famous people, Albert Einstein had imposter phenomenon. He was worried people would think of him as an involuntary swindler.
Interesting.
Like he was pulling the wool over somebody's eyes, right? I just think women talk about it more. Then after 2020, I remember the National Science Foundation, I think, did a study of workers going back to work and asked them that very question. Do you experience imposter syndrome? And across the board, it was women and men. And here's because it could be, if you procrastinate, that could be a function of you questioning and doubting yourself, which is, I mean, the reason we have it is because we have a brain, and our brain's designed to keep us safe. And when we're growing, we're launching another career, we're interviewing, we're launching a side hustle, we're going to put ourselves out there. And that can be scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
I can say that with empathy to everyone listening that's feeling that way.
Yeah.
So if you were working with some leaders that are in that space at the moment, in that headspace, and you knew that they were just doing too much, they had 37 tabs open and they're writing down their tasks for the day.
Did you look at my computer this morning? What is happening? Go ahead.
Right? What do you do when they're like, oh, nobody wants to work for me? I'm not a good leader. Those kind of things. Like, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, you'd have to unpack it, right? So for me, it's looking at, well, tell me more. What makes you say that? But what I have seen across the board among women is attempting to contort themselves to fit in rooms that weren't designed for them in the first place. And not out of neglect. It's simply what we inherited. The patriarchy is real. It's what we have all grown up inside of, men and women. And women initially weren't allowed to work. So you had industries where there was no women, but then you had factories where women could work. And then we had the whole, child labor and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the place that I start and why executive presence is so important to me is because executive presence is not fake it till you make it. It's not over proving. You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's being present. And we're present when we quiet our mind. So then the work that I do with my clients is about quieting their mind, identifying the brain patterns that have kept them stuck. I just led a workshop today on owning your no and setting boundaries, because women and some men too, we've been trained to be likable and a people pleaser and make the peace and do the thing. And we are really bad at saying no. And so I provide training and in particular frameworks. Here's how you can say no with grace.
Fantastic. No with grace. That is a nice way to put it. I like that. And we all love a good boundary. I know I do.
I do.
That's something that comes with age. At least it did with me. Like I got way better at setting boundaries as I aged.
I'll tell you something. I was telling somebody this story earlier today, talking about delegation, right? Because sometimes we have to delegate to ourselves, meaning last week I had a day. People were so people-y. They were just jerks. They just felt like I was surrounded by jerks. And I thought, normally I would push through.
Sure.
And I had my knee replaced like 9 weeks ago. So I've had to spend a lot of time offline to take care of myself, which is great. My partner takes care of me, but I had to focus on self-care, which we often neglect. People often neglect. And so I had this bad day and I thought, you know what? There's a local gal where I live who is on the women's U.S. hockey team. And there was a big watch party. So I looked at my calendar the next day. I said, no one's going to die on the operating table.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter. Do I need to write my March blog? Sure. Is anyone going to die on the operating table if it's not up March 1st?
Right.
If it's up by March 5th? My LinkedIn newsletter is anybody going to really notice? No. If I miss a Sunday night nurture email after sending people
Monday morning works too.
Yeah, exactly. Like nobody's going to die over it.
And that was the small stuff. Yeah,
exactly. And so when we think about delegating to elevate, I was telling you the story when I first started my company, I remember first year, 11 o'clock at night. And one of my coaches had recommended, or a mentor had recommended, before you go to bed every night, write everything down you've done. Otherwise you'll feel like you got nothing done. You just spun your wheels. So I did. And there was legit 37 things. I mean, I wrote down everything that I did.
Nice.
37. And then I looked at those and went, 24, 27 of these, shouldn't even be
Why
bothered.
am I in that business at all?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's when I hired my first online business manager. He was a rock star.
Yeah.
But I kind of cobbled together my team over the years. And he was with me 5.5 years and had a family emergency and had to step away. Had a tough time filling in. 2025 hit. And given I work with women's programs, a lot of opportunities went away. The economy sank. People weren't spending money. I laid off my entire team in 2025. It was just me. I have a graphic designer I call upon to do a little thing here and there.
Sure.
I have a VA who may or may not be doing social, but it helped me take away all the things that not carve away. It was like I got to be able to ask the question, what's really important to me in this business? And what's most important is for me making connections, and not even about sales conversations. It's about connecting with people, providing value. You never know. Everything's a network of conversations. You don't know.
Exactly. You don't know who you know. Yeah.
No, you have no idea.
Know. Right.
So, and that was my going into my 10th year of business. Year 9, I let go of the entire team. To keep myself, afloat. Things are picking up now. Thank goodness. I have a bunch of proposals out, and now I can be intentional about who to bring on, because previously it had been, well, I don't like doing this. Let me bring someone on for that. I don't like doing that. Now there's AI and so many different tools that I leverage, Monday.com for productivity. And a new app that I use for LinkedIn, and I'm only focused on LinkedIn. I'm not trying to be everywhere. I'm not Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, and I don't know who my first hire is going to be, or my first VA. I think, I don't know. I think client services. I think people to follow up after the calls I've made or after the programs I lead.
Absolutely.
And ensure that those things are, because that's the most important thing.
That's an extension of you. I mean, because that's all of your story, all what you do from start to finish when you're making and creating a relationship.
Yeah. Who cares if I post on social media, if I've just spoken at an event with 85 people and
Absolutely. Oh gosh. So that makes me think. So what do you do? How do you wrap your mind around? So you probably felt pretty accomplished in 9 years, and you had these staffers and that kind of thing, or whatever you want to call them, people that you've delegated to or outsourced.
Team members.
Your team. That's a great way to, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Mental brain. Yeah.
I'm not hiring anybody full time. It's all 1090.
Exactly. No, that's great. No, that's great. Because that's the more economical way to do it anyway.
Right.
But so what would you do, or how would you have suggest people go about rebuilding when they've had to let a team go again? Like, what's the kind of mindset that you might want to help them get into? Like, it's okay if you don't hire right away, or you do some things, you automate some things. That's delegation, folks. You're automating as a delegation. So anyway, what might you tell them to help them feel okay about what's happened and where they're going?
I think there's seasons of business. And I was very, nobody could have predicted the economic collapse. Nobody could have predicted, I don't want to get political on here, but the outcome of the election, what's happened, et cetera. Nobody could have predicted that, or that DE&I programs were going to be taken away and that kind of thing. In the fall of 2024, I intentionally sunsetted everything I had been doing. Because I had to take a good hard look at, because, it's October of 2024. Okay, what does 2025 look like?
Yeah.
And everything I looked at felt heavy, like a weight.
Yeah, you don't need that.
And that's one thing we want to remember is your body does keep the score. Check. Your body will tell you. If something feels heavy to you, don't do it.
Yeah.
So I still coach one-on-one for the right fit client.
Sure.
But at that time, I was coaching 18 people one-on-one.
Wow.
I was exhausted. I was burnt out. I was carrying about a 10K a month spend for my business and paying myself what I could. And that was all team.
Yeah.
And I also had to look to see, was everybody on my team making my life easier or harder? Was it taking me too much of my own time to oversee them?
Yeah.
Were they producing the results I needed them to produce? So it was like
That's
kind of
important.
those things.
Yeah.
That's important. So number one, patience. And number one, season. Number two, patience. You know, so I designed a new program that encapsulated all the one-on-one coaching I had been doing into a group program that was then scalable because, you know, I'm 61. So at that point I was 60. I knew I probably wanted to work for another 10 years. I also knew I felt this like quickening of wanting to get to more women, wanting to make my programs, because if I'm coaching you one-on-one through your company, it's going to cost you $30,000.
Yeah.
My group program for 6 months, you still get me every week. You get access to me through a WhatsApp chat. It's $5K. And you're getting 12 specific tools through that program to ensure that you know how to navigate power dynamics, bias, boardrooms, executive branding, creating mentorship, sponsor, all those things that you would need to be ready for your next promotion, to be ready to step up. And I systematize that. So I think that's part of it too, is looking at what you're doing that you love. Because I do love coaching people, but you know what I love even more is community.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So like, well, I had it in my head. Okay. And I knew my second book was coming out, Make Impostor Syndrome Your Superpower, in March of 2025.
Yay.
So I knew I wanted to do book clubs and book speaking. I knew I wanted to create communities or pods of women to rely on one another. And so I kicked off the program last year on March 12th or 2025. On March 12th. And nobody registered because nobody was willing to spend the money. And so instead of scrapping it all after all the work I'd put into it, and I was testing it, you know, I also delegated some of the topics to other people, not because I couldn't speak on them, but I thought, well, what don't I know? Let me bring in an expert on storytelling. They missed the mark. Some were good.
Yeah.
But I eventually had 4 women in the program who I knew would become partners and allies, and I wanted their feedback. And they, you know, I looked at it from that perspective.
Sure.
And so their feedback was, we only want you leading the content. We don't want anyone else.
Oh, well, you tried.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was 2025 for me was a reclamation of my own authority, a reclamation of my voice. Because when you go from a $250,000 plus business to like goose egg.
Yeah.
And, you know, and all the contracts that I potentially had being taken away because people weren't. I had one speaking gig. They hired a clown instead.
Oh my God, Jen.
Because they were laying off a ton of people and they needed the room to be light.
Oh, they could swing.
They didn't know I was a stand-up comedian because I could have like taken care of that.
So I would have put on a red nose.
No,
if you
I wouldn't have put on a red nose, but I definitely would have just done stand-up comedy for them.
Yeah,
you know, I had to really recalibrate, but it really allowed me. And that's one of the things I think we forget is when we stop trying to be everything to everyone, everywhere, all at once, it gives us a chance to quiet the mind, have patience, and really look at everything and gauge, is this really something I want to keep doing? Do I want to carry this load?
Yeah.
So, you know,
that was a new season for you then. That was one of those new seasons where you had to like,
much a new season.
Yeah.
Rethink everything. Now I'm going into my 4th cohort in March. You know, I have a couple companies looking at bringing me into their company. I've got a bunch of different opportunities for training and, you know, proposals that are out there.
Yeah.
The first 6 months of 2025, I'm not going to lie, were the roughest I've had since my first year in business. And probably even rougher than my first year in business because I had gotten to this level. And
hard.
It was taken out from under me, but not really. And I really feel like it was purposeful.
Yeah.
What's that?
Was it for a reason somehow?
Yeah. I feel like the universe was like, okay, we're going to really test you to see how much you believe in yourself.
Yeah, I got that same test. I got the exact same
A lot of
test.
people did. A lot of
Ooh.
people did. A lot of companies
Yeah.
went under in
Yeah.
I know multiple companies that went under in 2025 because they couldn't
Yeah.
sustain,
Well,
you know?
thank you for speaking out to the women that are unnoticed sometimes that are over a certain age, that, we can weather these storms into different seasons. Like just
Oh my
pivot a
gosh.
little
Think about all this.
swivel, I like to say, swivel.
I like swivel too because I
I like
flipping
swivel.
hate that word pivot. Everybody, blah,
I do too. I'm
pivot,
like,
pivot,
let's
pivot,
swivel.
pivot. Blah. I like swivel. I like swivel.
Because then I
Yeah,
can kind of swivel back to what I did before or dabble into something new. I like swivel.
exactly. And I think at this season of our wisdom, I'm going to put it that way,
I like
because I
it.
have, my hair is gray, and so the
I'm
season of
letting
this
mine go.
wisdom, we earned every single flippin' gray hair on our heads, every
Yes.
wrinkle, every dimple on our butt. We
Yes.
have more wisdom than, you know, whatever. And that's we want to own that and celebrate that.
We've earned the sledgehammer
Yes.
instead of just the hammer.
Yes, exactly. We've earned it. We've earned it. We've earned an
I
opportunity
love
to
that.
swivel or
Yes.
swerve or whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what my husband says all the time. He's like, nobody deserves things, but they can earn it. I'm like, I think
Hmm.
we deserve things because we earned them
I deserve
sometimes.
you taking the garbage out, honey. How about that?
Exactly, honey. Deserve you fixing that light
Oh
bulb
my
that
God. My partner just recently said, "How long has it been since you took out the garbage?" I'm like, "Well, I have a new knee. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a
so
couple months." And I took it out we had a little bit more snow and
yes.
not a lot, but I wanted to go outside and smell the
Mm,
fresh
yes, the
air after it
air.
snows. So I walked the garbage out and it took me forever, but I was like, "See, I
You
can
got
take
it.
it out."
That's
Cane in
amazing.
one hand, garbage
Yeah.
and recycling in the other. Somebody offered. I'm like, "No, thanks. I'm good." I'm like,
No,
"Badge
got
of
this. I got a
honor.
whole day.
I can
You
do
got
hard
today.
things. I don't care if it takes me a year. I'm going to take out the dang garbage."
Love the grit. Love it. Love it. It's very motivational. I'll wait. Hope to God I don't have the knee replacement thing going on, but you never know.
Best
Uh,
thing I ever had happen. I'm telling you, I'm going to be excited once I'm through the
I bet.
recovery.
I've heard good things of knee replacements.
Yep.
Awesome. So, one thing I like to ask you before I let you go today, I like to give the guests of the podcast a couple of takeaways or what I call golden nuggets when it comes to delegation and pick the direction or on the spectrum where you want to go. What would you give us as tips and tricks for delegating effectively or being happy with where you're at on that delegation spectrum or just keeping it all yourself? I mean, I'm up to whatever you like to say, whatever you'd like
Well,
to share with us today.
the thought that just popped up was, first of all, look at all the things you do in the course of a day, and are they really necessary for the success of your business, or are they
Right.
things other people told you are necessary?
Mm.
When I had my first consulting company, I had loads of contracts coming in. I didn't have a website back then. I didn't have
Yeah.
social media. There was no such thing as social media. That was
Right.
1997, for gosh sakes.
Right.
I was very successful. It was just based on good old, go to a networking event, meet
Mhm.
people, connect, etc. So
Yeah.
number one, look at all the things you're worried about delegating and just ask yourself, is this a necessity or is it someone else's agenda?
Mm.
And
That's
then when
important.
you are able to pare it down to the things that you feel like, I do feel strongly about writing my blog and writing my LinkedIn
Yeah.
newsletter because it makes me happy. And I like providing the women with the content. My newsletter is for women in STEM on LinkedIn. That part really is important to me. Same
Right.
with my emails that go out every Sunday.
Mm.
Is it important to me to be on Instagram? I should be on all the social media platforms. No, I'm just going to be on LinkedIn and I'll post when I post. You should post 5 days a week. Why? And this and that. So yeah, so that's number one. And then when you do cut it down to, well, what are the things I love to do? And you ask me, well, how would I know how to rebuild at this time? I can tell a lot of my time is taken up by administrative work. For example, I use Fathom to record my calls and take notes. And so then I take the summary, I create a contact and go high level. Like yesterday, I was talking to somebody about coming to Dallas to give a talk. So I created a contact and go high level. I take the summary, I paste the notes, I then make them an opportunity so I can remember. You know what I mean? It's all those pieces that take up a lot of my time, or I'm When I'm leading one of my workshops, I come to the end of the workshop and I always have a folder for everybody that attended and I download the video. It's things like that. Those things, while I like to make sure they're done, I've done it long enough now that I can create a standard operating procedure and have somebody who would do that for me. So there you go. That's what I would say.
Whoops. Well, that's embarrassing. I delegated to tech and my laptop shut down while recording with Jen. Apologies to my amazing guest, Jen Coken, but she so kindly wrapped it all up in the end. So thank you again for listening to today's episode. And please get out there and delegate to elevate and get your done. Thank you, Jen. Bye, everybody. That's it for today's episode of Delegate to Elevate, Get Done. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen. And if this episode gave you a golden nugget or two, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your review may even be featured in a future D2E listener shout out. Head over to delegate2elevatepodcast.com. That's with the number 2 to grab Bonnie's free Delegate to Elevate growth roadmap. Explore past episodes and join us next time for more real conversations about getting done.